The Silly Goose Gang podcast.
And we are back in episode 75. It is episode 75. We've made it to with Nature and Orchard. Beg your pardon, fucked up already, man.
See,
shocking. But we're going to keep going. We don't care. 10th planet black belt out of 10th planet Seattle. So Nathan, thanks very much for joining us this evening and this afternoon your time.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here today, boys.
I am interested in your T-shirt and the art behind you.
Oh! It says white belts don't spaz on me.
Nice.
I'm not sure you're allowed to say that anymore, but I agree. There's only so many times you can get kicked in the dick by white belts without having to say, dude.
Most dangerous. They're the most dangerous. You know?
Yeah, we were actually talking about that the other morning at the gym. We were talking about how many young guys that are still young, dumb, and full of cum and refuse to tap when their arm's about to explode, their heel's about to explode. So you let it go because you don't want to ruin a guy when they're just recreational and they've got jobs. And they go, I escaped that. I poured out of that, dude.
Yeah, that's the worst. They think they've escaped.
So how long have you guys been doing jiu-jitsu?
I've been training about four and a half years now.
Yeah, I'm 6 years. So
blue, purple belts. What?
Well, our setup is our professor he's a local guy, but he's actually in Taiwan. A guy called Dan Reed, and so yeah, can't get promoted. It obviously hasn't been able to come back.
I got you.
Because of COVID. So yeah, we're still on blue belts, but yeah, probably when Dan comes back over, we'll be. Well, in fact, I know that he has already told me that I am not getting a purple belt till I win something as a blue belt. So, which is fair, I guess.
Yeah. What about yourself? How long have you been training in total now, Nathan?
Well, I guess I really started martial arts when I was. I mean, I consider wrestling martial arts. You know, I started wrestling when I was like 12, and then I had my first MMA fight when I was 16, actually. And I'm 33 now. So my first MMA fight was in 2004. So fucking long time ago now. And yeah, so man, I've been on the mats, you know, doing stuff like that, like 21, 22 years, you know, between wrestling, my MMA training, striking, and jiu-jitsu. I've dedicated myself purely to jiu-jitsu for about the last 11 years or so.
Okay. Yeah, it's a long time. So yeah, I boxed for about the same time before I done jiu-jitsu. So like 6 years boxing and now 6 years jiu-jitsu. So
nice. That's good.
The body's all fucked up. Everything hurts. I'm 37 and everything hurts. Yeah. But yeah. So what's the paint behind you? This one over your right shoulder.
That's actually a Cleopatra painting, and it's on some really cool, like, I don't know, reed paper.
Papyrus.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Thank you. And my daughter's name is Cleo. So we named Cleo after Cleopatra, of course. So wanted to name my daughter after a powerful woman. So I think Cleopatra is probably the most powerful woman to ever live, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. It's to go off topic already. Like Egypt's something that I'm fascinated by. We've tried so hard to get an Egyptologist on, but we haven't had any success yet.
Oh yeah,
so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some cool, fascinating stuff for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, what's your favorite? I mean, I know you've done some combat jiu-jitsu. Do you prefer combat or just regular? What's your?
You know, dude, it's interesting. Yeah, I've done so much combat jiu-jitsu within the last. I mean, there hasn't been an EBI since 2017, I think. Yeah, and so I've done 4 combat jiu-jitsu since then. And come to find out, I think I'm actually better at combat jiu-jitsu. Because you know, my MMA experience, and I do think that I am have a talent of mixing the striking with the grappling. You know, even though I'm not like going for knockout hits, I just know how to mix it up enough to freak guys out enough to kind of let their guard down or get overwhelmed with the strikes to where I can pull off a submission. So I think I'm probably better at combat jiu-jitsu, but I don't know. I'm more passionate about just jiu-jitsu, you know.
Yeah, it's such a. I'd love to try some combat jiu-jitsu if we have one in Scotland. I'd love to try it just from I like hitting things.
Yeah, it's a whole different take on everything. I mean, it does keep you more honest. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. Why hasn't there been an EBI for a while?
Just because Eddie wanted to really build up the combat jiu-jitsu scene. I think he said something to the effect of he wanted to establish a champion in each combat jiu-jitsu weight class before going back to EBI. So I think he's done that.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, probably by popular demand too. People love EBI. I'm so stoked to get back, man. It's like it's my favorite tournament just because it's probably what's made my career, the most. And it's just an exciting show. We're gonna go down to Cancun again, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I think when you've got the best grapplers in the world, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how things become. I don't know if it's just atmosphere or the way they're put together, or I don't know how things become that the pinnacle. But that seems to be the one to me that having an EBI belt would be the coolest.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think besides ADCC, of course, ADCC is just the ultimate. But I think Polaris and EBI and I mean, who's number one is cool, but it's not. I don't like the rule set as much. I would do it, but I tend to like submission only stuff more. At points, it's not doesn't get me going. But but it's just not, But anyway, those are my favorite shows.
Yeah, there's a submission only competition that's gaining popularity in Scotland, SGI, and it's gaining popularity, and there's been some pretty. One of our last guests, Owen Lively, an English guy who was a Commonwealth judo champion, and now he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's really fucking people up, and it's so exciting, But there's, like you're saying, points jiu-jitsu. I understand it's very traditional, and it's let's get to side control and let's get to mount. And nobody really wants to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, entertainment value, it's just not as much. You have to be like a jiu-jitsu fanatic to care that much, but the lay person doesn't care. But dude, I would love to get out to Scotland and compete in that show. I've been to Scotland a few times. I mean, my last name, of course, Orchard. Evidently, it started as Urquhart, which
okay, that makes sense.
And my big red beard, you know what I mean. So go back and compete in the motherland there. That'd be a cool thing someday.
I think there would be absolutely no problem, and you getting a spot. I think they would love that. Have a high level 10th Planet guy.
Yeah, I would do
it. You've also continued the standard trend of Scottish people when they emigrate from Scotland go to somewhere equally as cold and wet and miserable as Scotland. So you've gone up Pacific Northwest. They go to the South Island of New Zealand rather than the North Island, which is the tropical one. We go to Canada, Nova Scotia. We don't like somewhere. We're too, like you see, we're too ginger, we're too red, we're too peely wally. Skin falls off. So Seattle, that looks like the place to be. We don't want that Southern California sunshine.
Yeah, no, come on out to Seattle, guys. You'll love the rain here. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. So how is life in Seattle?
Life in Seattle, obviously it was a lot better before the pandemic. It kind of just screwed everything up, and I mean we're not in any special situation. Everyone's kind of screwed up everywhere. But I grew up in the country. I'm kind of a country kid, and so living in the city has definitely been like a really huge change for me. I mean, I lived in Portland before I was up here in Seattle, but I don't know, man. I'm ready to get back out into the country. I want to live that country life. I've got I was gonna say, actually, I got a family ranch in Wyoming where my granddad raised Red Angus. So there's out, and so anyway, I want to get back out to Wyoming and build a training facility there and a podcast room and have people come out for camps because it's very remote and it's very high elevation training, So I don't know. I've got a vision for what I want to do in the future, and it probably won't take place in the city. So
that sounds amazing. Yeah, that's the kind of place where, if I'm ever allowed to travel again, it would be like That sounds fucking awesome. Head out to Wyoming, because I know a girl. She's kind of local actually. She married a guy in Wyoming, and she lives out there now and loves it.
It's an incredible place.
Yeah, real remote and just beautiful place. So that would be awesome. Yeah, it'd be cool to these are the parts of America that I would like to visit. Like, I don't have any interest in. We talked about it just recently, like Florida. I don't really want to go to Florida. I don't really want to go to LA.
No one wants to go to Florida.
We genuinely send each other at least 3 or 4 times a week some Florida man things from Instagram. Florida man, sticks cup up his bum and farts on his wife's mother. You just think, what the fuck?
It's wild, man. It's wild.
Yeah, for sure.
It's got to be heat,
Oh, it must be that heat and humidity drives people crazy. There's no other ways about it. It was like, I saw a story not related to Florida man, but I saw one because Australians are all crazy as well. And there was a guy who had found a spider living in his car, and at the time it was 6 inches across. And he decided rather than get rid of it, he would let it live in the car. And it literally had a picture of it, and it covered, like the visors that pop down? Literally covered the visor. It was like 14.5 inches across. And he said, it's great because no one wants to get in the car with him. He says, but the downside is he's nearly totaled his car twice because it just runs along the roof and falls onto his lap as he's screaming down the freeway at 90 miles an hour. And you're like, why? Why would you even do that? A big huntsman spider and allow it to live in your car?
Yeah, Florida. Oh boy. Yeah. So
crazy bastards. All crazy bastards. So I need to ask you, Nathan, sorry, because one of the things that I use a lot, and I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but I use the Dead Orchard a lot because I'm kind of long in range. I'm like 6'3" and about 195, 200 pounds neck of the wood. Well, like a 35-inch inside leg. So I like using triangles, and then I've since started using the Dead Orchard. So where does that come from? Because depending on who you talk to or what you read on the internet, some people say, oh, it was Nathan. Some people say it was Jeremiah Van. Some people throw out Chambers. Sorry, I've forgotten.
Kyle
Chambers?
Kyle Chambers.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, it is called the Dead Orchard. Eddie Bravo named it after me. It was let's see, I was actually a blue belt. Or no, I was a white belt. I was unaffiliated with 10th Planet, and I wanted to get affiliated. So the criteria back then was to post like 15 matches wearing 10th Planet gear, using 10th Planet techniques, and I needed to get 15 wins. So I start that process, and about a year into it, I face off at the time he was a purple belt, now he's a 3rd degree black belt, Mike DeWitt. He's another 10th Planet guy in Oregon. Yeah. And I had a match against him, and I actually got a Dead Orchard on him. And so it was not named at that point. And so I went down to HQ, and after that match, Eddie gets online. He gave me my blue belt online, which was like, I was the first person he ever did that for. That kind of blew my mind because I was just like this country kid living in the middle of nowhere. And then I go down to HQ, and I have a bunch of test matches. I'm like testing, in front of Eddie, and for the whole class sits around, and like he puts me up against one of the guys he put me up against was Gio. So anyway, out of 7 matches, I had 5. I tapped out 5 of them and had 2 stalemates, and one of my stalemates was Gio. Okay. And then I walked away with my purple belt. So I was a blue belt for 2 weeks, and then got my purple belt. But see, this was after 21 MMA fights. Like, this is after half of a career. So I was very, very seasoned. And then throughout my purple belt, I started hitting Dead Orchards like crazy. And one day I get on the 10th Planet forum, and I was like, hey guys, we gotta name this something, 2-arm triangle arm bar. Like, what are we saying here, And so everyone throws out all these ideas, and we're all like, whatever. Eddie finally gets on and goes, basically, oh yeah, that Dead Orchard was sick. And then from then on, everyone's just like, okay, well, I guess it's the Dead Orchard now. And it just kind of there, So it actually, I started doing it on accident. I didn't even realize I was doing something different until I started doing it over and over and over again. And then I was like, oh shit, this is unique, And I just kind of went from there, man. And it blew up way more than I ever imagined it would. I mean, I got people tagging me and stuff every weekend doing a Dead Orchard, it's wild.
Yeah. I think we've spoke to a few 10th Planet guys now, and it seems to be like this, I don't know if like a culture thing where, everybody has the freedom to kind of try things, and I think that, as you were saying earlier on, you like kind of philosophy and all this kind of stuff, and I think all that plays a part in this. It's not hey, let's go to double unders, let's pass, let's get to side control, let's get down. It's like, fuck it, let's try this. What happens if I do this?
Well,
that thing in 10th Planet.
Man, I got my brown belt. I got all my belts through Eddie. But I would say up until brown belt, man, I was completely self-trained in jiu-jitsu. Like I had no one there telling me what to do or what not to do. So it became, I'd study video and study matches and stuff, but no one was like forming my habits for me. So I was free to just do whatever I wanted, man. I didn't have like any preconceptions of limitations and ideas of what I was supposed to do or not do. I just did what worked. And then it was interesting to me as I like got deeper into the jiu-jitsu culture, realizing like, oh, there's pretty dogmatic, we do it this way and we don't do it this way. And I mean, I always tell my students, there's nothing that works every time and there's nothing that never works, So, and you know what, even if something works one time, I'm going to keep it in my back pocket. Maybe it's not the highest submission or the highest percentage submission or move or whatever, but like, it's just different styles at different times. It depends on who you're fighting. You got to do different weird stuff, and sometimes you need that traditional game, and then sometimes you just got to be weird as hell.
Yeah, I know. Our professor Dan, he had Craig Jones over in Taiwan before he blew up at ADCC,
okay.
And he said he just did all of the things that you shouldn't do, but did them really well. Like he'd just done all this weird shit that worked really well, and he could make it all stick.
Yeah. There is no right or no wrong, man. The idea of right or wrong is what like stifles creativity.
Yeah.
My opinion.
He seemed to think he did everything wrong but done really well, and then went to ADCC and like tapped out Leandro Lowe or something crazy. So obviously it works.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Craig Jones is the truth, man. He's a cool guy too.
Have you trained with Craig?
I've had 2 matches with Craig, actually.
Okay.
In fact, I'm the only person in the world, I believe, to heel hook Craig.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then he heel hooked me a year later. So we're 1 and run. So I'm gonna set up a rubber match with old Craig Jones one of these days.
Hey, let's get it set up in Scotland, SCI.
He's all over.
Yeah. That's yeah. I think. Are you guys like? Was there anything within? Obviously, because like Danaher Death Squad was doing, crazy things with heel hooks and stuff. Was there ever has there ever been like a conversation in 10th Planet to try and figure out their style to try and dominate them?
I mean, to tell you the truth, man, like I feel like I did a lot of the investigative martyring against that team. Like I fought every one of those guys. I fought Eddie Cummings, Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin, Oliver Taza, Ethan Carlson. Like I have faced almost all of the best Danaher guys, and I haven't done so well against them. I've had great matches, but a lot of them tapped me. Not everyone. I still made a couple, but like through my matches, I feel like I definitely learned their system a lot more. I definitely exposed their stuff to 10th Planet a little bit more. In fact, here's a funny one. You guys obviously know the term the honey hole, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was not a term. I actually coined that term, right? Because I didn't know that the honey hole was also the saddle or 411. And so let's see, I saw Gary heel hooked Boogie, and I think the first EBI with the honey hole inside heel hook. And then the next month, I faced Gary Tonin in the finals of Grappler's Quest Pro in Vegas, and he did the same thing to me. So I didn't really know what he was doing at the time, And so I watched the video over and over and over again. I figure it out, and I start hitting it on my students, right? And then Eddie comes up for a seminar at my school, and I'm like, I'm like rolling with. I'm like smoking some dudes with the honey hole, and he goes, "What is that?" And I go, I don't know. I had named it at the time. On the spot, I go, I don't know the sweet spot out the honey hole. It's the honey hole. Because funny enough, like I'm obsessed with honey. Like I buy honey by the gallon. Okay.
Okay.
I just have so much honey in my house. It would blow your mind. And every time I travel, I buy some honey and collect it anyway. So at the honey hole, boom, it's stuck right there. And then Eddie gets on Eddie Bravo radio, which he had at the time, and kind of blew up the story. And dude, I mean, like, again, the name just stuck, you know? So I actually once saw Andre Galvao teaching a little instructional, and he used the term the honey hole. And I was like, holy shit, like, how am I living in a world where Andre Galvao is using a term that I coined, even though I didn't make the move up. I just named it out of pure ignorance, you know what I mean? But like, it was weird, man. It's been a crazy one for me.
Is there anything else that you've named? Like,
well, I mean, probably not as well known as like other things, but like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like reverse spiderweb or the ultra kimura. Gio and I hit it a lot. I haven't seen too many other people hit it.
No.
But in 10th Planet, I've definitely named a few little things that like within our, you know, terms we use. But
yeah. So what attracted you to the 10th Planet then, Nathan? When you were saying you were kind of self-trained, self-taught, was it that idea of the creativity and the openness versus the dogma, or what kind of drew you towards that side of it as opposed to any of the other?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, definitely. Okay, the first time I ever heard of Eddie Bravo, okay, he was actually commentating on the UFC back in the day, and it was Eddie Bravo scoring. I don't know if you remember that, but
yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, he'd give his opinion, and I always agreed with him. And I was like, okay, this Eddie Bravo guy, I didn't know anything about him. And then I saw Nick Diaz, Gogo Plata talking origami, right? And I was like, oh, a Gogo Plata, okay, what's that? So I go look it up, and then I realized, I learned it's part of like rubber guard system, and then find out that Eddie systemized rubber guard, and then I was like, oh, Eddie is Joe Rogan's buddy. He's kind of the rubber guard creator. He smokes weed, so he's chill, like, you know what I mean, like super open-minded kind of guy. And so then I Google like how to get ranked in jiu-jitsu, because there's no jiu-jitsu schools near me. And that's when I found the criteria on the 10th Planet forum of how to get ranked. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, and now at this time, I didn't know that the gi was such a part of jiu-jitsu. I had no idea. I was totally ignorant to jiu-jitsu culture. And so I just like kind of just jumped in, you know, I was like, cool, these guys are cool. I'm going to like try to get in their little club. And I mean, it happened, you know, it happened. I got adopted in, and I'm Eddie's 16th black belt. Now he's got over 110 Planet black belts, you know. So I was kind of in early as far as that goes. And yeah, man, it just kind of all happenstance. I had no idea what I was getting into, to say the truth. And it just turned out to be like the best thing in my life, you know, besides my wife and kids. So
how is Eddie on day to day? Obviously we hear him on you know, podcasts and stuff, and he seems like a in the best possible way, like a brilliant weirdo. That's kind of how he seems.
I mean, look, he comes off as eccentric for sure on like social media, but no, dude, Eddie is one of the most down to earth, honest and fair people that I know. I'm telling you, like Eddie, the way he runs 10th Planet as a whole, it's just fair, dude. He's just a great leader, and he really, really cares about people. You know, he's not a look, we're all inherently selfish, right? Like there's no even a mother taking care of their child, it's selfish. It's just the type of selfishness that like makes everyone feel good instead of just one person feel good. Well, Eddie's that type of selfish. He's the type of selfish that like it's good for him for sure, but it's good for everybody what he does, man. Like Eddie, man, he has changed. I can't think of a person who has impacted the jiu-jitsu world as positively in the last 5 to 10 years, you know, with the how he blows up the shows and he makes no-gi exciting, and how he lets all these guys from different organizations, like, dude, Eddie's just the man, dude. He's a super cool guy. You know, he went from being an idol to a teacher, you know, to a friend, you know, and now he's just, dude, kind of one of the homies, you know. I mean, super lucky to know the guy.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's super cool. As Chris said, we've been lucky enough to speak to a couple of 10th Planet guys, a few guys over here, but in one of our very early episode 10 actually of this podcast, we were lucky enough to speak to Brandon McGaffron. And he said a lot of very similar things. So that's, you know, when two people are kind of saying that independently, it must be the case.
If anyone that talks shit about Eddie has never spent time with him.
Yeah.
If you spend time with him, you can't not love the guy. I mean, he's just dope.
We had a girl recently from the gym had said to Ali at training once. She was like, "Yeah, I've been watching this guy quite a lot." Was that Brandon?
Yeah.
Was it Brandon? She's like, "Yeah, I've been watching this guy quite a lot, and he does some really amazing things on Instagram. Like, it's a guy called Brandon McGaffin. And you know him? We had him on the podcast in episode 10. We're friends. We're friends with BMAC.
He's the man. Brandon is actually one of the first people who, when I started posting my videos on the 10th Planet Forum back in 2010 or whatever, he's one of the first people that noticed me. He's like, "Oh, cool moves, bro, cool moves." And he was like always commenting on my videos. And so we became super tight, and so like I knew him for years online before I ever met him. And now, I've been to his school a few times and I see him all the time now. Brandon's one of the best, dude. He really is a
cool guy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, nice guy.
He's definitely
very,
a nice guy. Another Scottish heritage guy.
Indeed.
McGaffin. Yeah, so what is like how would you describe like your philosophy towards jiu-jitsu? How do you approach it mentally and physically?
Well, to me, it's just look, jiu-jitsu is pattern recognition. You know what I mean? I mean, actually everything in life is about pattern recognition. And I think that I just have the natural ability to see patterns and understand them and build systems off of them. And jiu-jitsu for me was also very, probably with damn near everybody, it's just very, very therapeutic, when I first really got into it, it was because I realized that I was very like anxious and like even depressed. And then I realized one day that whenever I was doing jiu-jitsu, I wasn't anxious or depressed, Yeah. So I started to realize, oh, okay, every time I feel bad, I'm just going to go train. Well, it turned into I was training all the time. And then I was feeling good all the time because it was making me be present, because depression comes from thinking about the past. Anxiety comes from thinking about the future. Peace is in the present. And so you're very present when you're doing jiu-jitsu. And then when you spend enough time being present, it's like a habit. It's like muscle memory. You're just more present more often, therefore less anxious or less depressed. And so, in a way it was a coping mechanism. And then obviously it's an incredibly cool, beautiful, and fun art. And plus I'm very martial minded, like I study all martial arts. I use all weapons. I throw knives, archery, sword. Like there's basically nothing I don't do. So martial arts is just very much a part of me. It always has been. I can't even help it, and yeah, kind of addicted to it, really.
I think when you get a gym and you have just a cool bunch of guys, that makes the biggest difference. We're lucky and we train primarily in the morning, 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And that pretty much weeds out the assholes, like, because nobody can be bothered to turn up at that time. If you're turned up at 6:30, you have to be pretty committed to jiu-jitsu. So we're very lucky where most mornings it's real good jiu-jitsu guys, cool guys to hang out with. I always think about things in terms of like, even if you're training with guys or in life, like, would you like to like have a pint? Would you like to go for a beer with that person?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, I probably don't want to hang out with them so much. You think?
Yeah, that's a good filter.
Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, whether you like to smoke weed with that person or take mushrooms with that person or have a pint with that person, it's all relevant. And we're lucky to have that kind of environment. Harris at our gym has done a real good job of making sure there's no dickheads. So, it's, I think, me and Ali are, so I'm 37, Ali's 43. So we, as the older guys, you try and make sure the younger guys and then the new guys all feel welcome. Yeah. And
and that's another thing too about it, man. I did realize, because I've been running a school now for, damn near 10 years. People want to be a part of something. you know.
Yeah.
Whether it's church or jujitsu or whatever club that they're into, you know, jujitsu is actually the last thing we do in a jujitsu school. I feel like, you know, it's actually, the jujitsu is the thing we do, but it's all about the camaraderie and the connectedness, and you know that's actually what people like even more.
Yes.
But at the same time, I would rather do jujitsu with a bunch of cool people than go ride bikes. You know, just because to me it's more practical. You know, it's more entertaining. Who doesn't want to learn how to defend themselves? And you know, it gives you all kinds of confidence, right? I mean, you know, it's just
for sure.
the psyche.
Everybody wants to be able to do cool spinny shit. Do you know what I mean? Everybody wants to do cool spinny shit. 100%. I think the confidence thing is you know,
massive,
our gym is running a women's only beginners class, and you know, we'll share it on Instagram and stuff, and there's a few girls have messaged me just saying, I'd like to go to something like that. It's so important, you know, unfortunately for women in 2022 to be able to just defend them. And it's sad that they have to, but you know, they probably have to. It's probably a great idea to defend themselves.
It's nature, man. Like, you know, we like to think we're not animals, but we are. And every animal has to learn how to defend themselves. You know, you look out on the safari, dude, there's lions and hyenas trying to eat things, you know, and it really is. It's just a part of life that would be really nice if we were able to kind of evolve past the whole, you know, go from a perspective of rivalry to cooperation, you know, but we have this scarcity mentality. So we're all trying to survive. We all think we're separate from each other. Therefore, I need to protect myself against you. When I believe in the reality of things is that, you know, we're not separate, you know, you are me and I am you. And if you sit there and think about it long enough, it really actually starts to make sense. At first, it sounds like, oh, you're just having some crazy stoner talk, but I'm telling you, man, it's you sit there and dive within yourself deep enough, you'll realize like there's no separation in anything, and maybe we should treat each other better, you know?
Yeah, I think we definitely should treat each other better. But you know, I said this way back when I was, you know, boxing. There really isn't many dickheads in a club where everybody can fight. There really isn't. No. You only get those dickheads in, you know, in a pub. You know,
and they don't last very long. You know, if they do come to a jiu-jitsu school, they don't stick around, man. They can't handle it. You know,
they can't. I saw it in very, very stark relief. I've got two teenage sons. They're now 18 and 19. But a couple of years ago, my oldest boy joined us at jiu-jitsu, both me and Chris. And when Aaron turned up, Aaron's probably now he's about 5'10", and back then he was probably still close to 5'10", and he would have been about 130 pounds, if
soaking
that.
Wet,
soaking wet, 130 pounds, like a literal racing snake in his no gi. Yeah. And his younger brother Logan is way more athletic than him. Logan's played sports all his days. Logan's never fought in his life. Okay. And one day the two of them were squaring at each other, like head to head. And I was like, do you know what? You're old enough to sort this out. I'm just going to stand here and referee it. Yeah. And Logan threw the worst haymaker I've ever seen. He literally put his hand in his back pocket and he threw it. Yeah. And Aaron saw it coming, and Aaron ducked underneath him and absolutely double-legged him onto his back. And then Logan just did like your t-shirt says, a white belt spazzy up kick, kind of caught Aaron half in the chin. And Aaron just dropped down on top of him, side control, just got the cross face across the throat. Logan didn't know what to do. And Aaron didn't even throw a punch. He just controlled him and pinned him down and like had nothing. And when I finally separated them, Logan's like, what kind of fucking bullshit? What was fucking bullshit was that? And Aaron's like, it's jiu-jitsu.
That's the real thing, dude. Like, you know, like think about it. It's like on a battlefield way back in the day, if you had armor and a helmet, you know, beating someone to death with your hands would be nearly impossible. You know what I mean? But like submissions go through armor. You know, if you think of it that way, if you're not using a weapon at that time, it's the realest, man.
Yeah, I'd just been teaching my nephew who is 9. You know, as little boys do, there'd been some fighting in the playground at primary school. So I showed him how to do a takedown and then how to armbar somebody. And then, my sister had been saying he had been armbarring everybody at school. I'm like,
yeah, I hope so. It happens, eh? Yeah, and it's all good, eh? It's all good. It was like Aaron's last day, as it turned out, his last day at high school before we were locked down. The day before we went into full lockdown, the schools all shut. A guy had been talking online that he was an ex-pupil that was coming back to the school, and he was going to stab one of Aaron's friends because he'd been having beef on the internet, as the kids say. And the boy basically came back to the school. He lives in Aberdeen, which is about 300 miles away?
No, 100 miles away.
100 miles, asshole. Maybe there and back. Anyway, he'd driven all the way down and had came into the school and had ran up to this Aaron's pal and basically pushed him over. And Aaron said he didn't know if he had a knife, if he had a shank or whatever. And Aaron, like I say, super quiet, super studious, like straight A kind of student type, literally jumped onto the guy's back, rear naked choke him with a body triangle and choked him unconscious in front of everyone's like, stab him, stab him. And then Aaron just stood up, rolled him into the recovery position and walked away.
That's it, man. I mean, I've been in only 2 real street fights ever in my life. And both of them, I took their back and choked them out and put them to sleep. I don't know.
I'd love to do that in a street fight. It's so much fun.
Well, one time this guy was breaking into a store, and I just so happened to be driving by in the middle of the night, and there was some people trying to stop him. I literally jump out of my truck, and I go take him down, and I go friggin', I hold him until the cops get there, and we cuff him up and stuff. And then another time I was in a bar in Thailand, and I was at this bar. I knew all the bouncers there, and this guy starts scrapping with the bouncers, and it happened right next to me. So I just jump on the dude and I put him to sleep. And the girls just swarmed around me afterward. They're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And then I left because I was like, no, this guy's gonna go get his buddies, and then I'm gonna have to get my here. But it still felt pretty cool.
That's the thing. I think when people, when you I like to fight. It's fun. I don't want to fight anybody. I don't want to go into a pub and fight somebody. Why would I want to? It's dumb. But it's nice to know that if something was like that happened, you could just choke somebody unconscious. And they think, in their head, there's no way Nathan Orchard could rear naked choke me. I'm the toughest guy in the world.
Yeah. Well, they don't know what they don't know.
33 seconds later, they're coming back round going, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, it's hilarious. Yeah, because the guy in Thailand who I choked out, he went to sleep. I stood up. He gets up and he starts saying to me, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And I want to be like, motherfucker, do you know who I am? I'm the guy that just choked you out, bitch. What?
Yeah. That's the best. It's kind of like what you call him? Dylan Dennis when he got choked out just recently. That was hilarious. That guy.
That's crazy.
That fucking. He's one of those people where, obviously, I don't know him. Never met him. I don't know if you know him. He just seems like a bit of a dickhead.
No, man, it's. I have actually hung out with him a couple times, and I've trained with him before. And this is what actually kind of frustrates me about people is when they're in person, they're just totally normal. Okay,
just putting on a performance.
And then they put on this weird persona online, and they're just a giant douche online, giant douche. I do not like Dylan's online persona whatsoever, but honestly, when I hung out with him, he was super humble and super chill and just and I don't really like that inauthenticity. Eddie, he comes off as eccentric online, but he doesn't come off as a dick, I mean, Eddie is eccentric, but in a great way. Whereas Dylan is totally not the way that I have interacted with him in person. So I'm just who are you? I mean, look, most people don't know who they are anyway. They identify with what they do, but you're not what you do. You're something completely else. But
it just seems like he was trying to be a Conor McGregor light. That it just seemed like he was trying to build a name.
But hey, man, the guy's got, I don't know how many followers he has now, but he's got over 100,000 followers on, he's probably making money. So it's So who's the dumbass
Working.
now? I don't know. I'm not
Yeah,
making that Dylan Dennis money. I don't know.
Yeah, I see. The thing is, I don't have any problem with people being a dick online like he is, but I think that they should have to back it up, like Floyd Mayweather did. You know, back in the day, he was when Floyd Mayweather was Pretty Boy Floyd, he was an asshole, but he backed it up constantly. And I've heard the same things about him. You know, guys, you know, boxing circles who have been out there and, you know, in person, a real nice guy, really nice guy, but he comes off as an asshole. But he backed it up.
Like Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan backs up everything he says.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly the same. Yeah,
you may not like it, but you know he's not full of shit as far as that goes.
Yeah, he definitely backs things up.
Gordon has also always been respectful. I mean, you know, towards each other whenever I've crossed paths with him, but yeah.
I think to an extent with like Gordon, he just says what he thinks, and that has to be, you know, to an extent is respected. So if he thinks, you know, if I rolled with him and he went, you know, you suck, well, maybe that would hurt my feelings, but if that's what he thinks, then he's just telling you what he thinks.
Well, you know, I mean, yeah, it's just everything's relative too. You know, sure, maybe you suck compared to the best guy who's ever done jujitsu, but like, you know, it's just all relative. And anyway,
you know, Do you think he's really that good? Do you think he's the best that's ever done?
Well,
I mean, especially.
I think it's kind of like Michael Jordan and LeBron James. You know, it's like Marcelo is like Michael Jordan. You know, Michael Jordan's not as big as LeBron. You know, it's like it's also a different generation or different kind of, you know, time. Yeah. But like I think Marcelo Garcia is one of the best there's ever been, for sure.
Yeah.
In our actual time of who's competing now, I mean, gosh, I can't think of anyone better than Gordon, you know?
Yeah.
Even though I don't even think Gordon is the most entertaining. I think Gary Tonon's more entertaining than Gordon Ryan, you know? Mm-hmm. Gordon Ryan just whoops everybody's ass, but Gary, he does crazy stuff that Gordon doesn't do, you know?
Yeah, that Gary Tonon, like the scissor entry into an inside heel hook that he did, would that have been ADCC? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Incredible.
Right?
Yeah, incredible.
He moves very, very well. Yeah.
I think a great thing that I heard a while ago, it was when somebody was talking to Mike Tyson, and it was when Vladimir Klitschko was reigning the heavyweight division. You know, and they were asking Mike Tyson, you know, do you think you could beat Vladimir Klitschko? And you very, very rarely hear people say things like this because their ego takes over. But then Mike Tyson was saying, we don't like to admit it as athletes, but, you know, the next generation always get a little better because they improve, you know, strength and conditioning gets a little better, fitness gets a little better, the understanding of, you know, supplements, everything gets better. So that they just get better.
I mean, because again, they get to build off of the work. Look, I get to build off of the work that Eddie Bravo has done.
Yeah.
And he built off of the work that Jean-Jacques Machado did. And you know what I mean? So really, we're just handing off the baton. You know, it's not even a competition. We're actually trying to look. If the future generation isn't getting better, then we are failing as teachers. You know, it's our job to make sure they're better than us. And if they don't, then that's because I suck at teaching. You know, basically. So.
Yeah. So I've got, you know, we're talking about this to somebody as well last week. You know, I was showing a couple. I've got quite a mean armbar. And I was showing a lot of the young guys, you know, because I was doing something. So I go on, you know, hand that go bone to bone rather than cupping. So go bone to bone, and they couldn't understand why when I had them, and you know, I was on, you know, had them on their side. They couldn't understand what was going on. What the fuck are you doing? And I showed them, and I was letting them do it to me. I said, you know, cup, now go bone to bone, and they were all going, holy shit! So they now know. Instead of having to go through all that shit to learn that, they bypass it and understand that.
Dude, I get some of my students, it'll be their first year of training, and I'm handing them nuggets of gold that like I didn't get till I was a black belt, you know, through competition and through all this stuff. And it's like year one, you're getting like the dopest dope. Like, must be nice.
Yeah. It's like when we first, I trained probably about 10 years ago. I trained with a couple of guys, very similar to like you're saying, kind of just in a garage, 2 or 3 of us, couple of YouTube videos, and just tried stuff out. and one of the guys had a bit of a traditional jiu-jitsu background. And he showed the straight ahead triangle where you pull down on the head and it's all thigh squeeze. And then probably about 2.5 years ago, our instructor John showed the kind of, it's probably off Danaher that seems to have kind of popularized it, the idea of coming off at the side and scooping the leg and turning off to go kind of perpendicular rather than straight ahead. And when I changed that up, and again, that was something that, John's been training, 15 years?
115
years, probably. He's an old guy. Shout out to John. But he had always been the same, and he's not very tall. He'll tell you that himself. He's about 5'6", and he had always been told, "You'll never be able to do a triangle." And he had gone along to another gym, and someone had said, he's built like a chimpanzee. He's got long arms and short legs. Okay. And he says, "You'd be perfect for hitting triangles, because if you get those legs locked, no one's getting out of it." And John had always said, "I'm too short." And the guy says, "Do it this way. Come off to the side so you're not needing that." And as I say, I'm quite tall and rangy, but John showed that to me as well. And do you know what I mean? Once I get, like I say, a 35-inch inside leg, once I get that leverage locked up.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's game over. And it's that little nugget of it took someone X amount of years to get to that point. But we've got guys coming in, like you say, the first month that's getting shown a triangle, and they're going straight to that and learning how to lock up and not be like, "I just can't get it. I'm pulling the head down and I'm squeezing." And now it's all just mechanical. Come off to the side and kill that angle.
And you got these kids who've been training since they were 5, like the Rapolos. So now they're 17, 18, and they've been training for, as long as many black belts. But they also have the youth and all the, man, the future generations are just insane.
We've got a buddy of ours. We've got a buddy of ours, Nathan Baz, who trains with us. He's a purple belt, but probably closer to a brown belt. And he's got 2 little boys who are, I think they're both 11.
Yeah.
And those little motherfuckers are a problem. Genuinely, they're tiny, because he's another small guy, and they're tiny little guys. And you're tiny little boys, but they roll with you with zero fear. And they legitimately are trying to hit things. You're like, oh, once you start to get strong and you grow up, use the same idea. They've trained since they were tiny little kids, trained for years already. They're going to be a nightmare in 5-6 years' time.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like you look at like Randy Couture, back in his day, he was just the man, UFC champion. And now, dude, he wouldn't stand up against, the average MMA fighter. In my opinion. And so it's gonna be weird when someday I'm just like this old dude that like used to kind of be, running with the big dogs, and now I'm just this old man like, oh, these young guys, we're all going there, we're all heading.
That's going to happen. That's that you should enjoy that. This is one of the things that I like about jiu-jitsu compared to boxing, because you can only get hit in MMA is the same. You can only get hit in the head so many times, and then shit's going to go south. Jiu-jitsu, as long as you're training with a cool bunch of guys, you can still compete. Masters 5, whatever it is, way into your 60s.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I really like that, because hopefully, hopefully, I'll be able to do this until the wheels fall off.
Yeah,
that's a pretty cool thing.
I always tell my students, it's not a sprint, it's not a marathon, it's a death march. We're doing this until we die. You know what I mean? So don't be in a hurry. Like, slow and consistent. That's the name of the game. Don't try to rush.
Yeah, and this is going back to what we were saying earlier. So some of the young guys who trained with us, some of the white belts, and they just will not tap. So you have this decision where you go, do I let them go, and then they think they've escaped it, or because.
Or just take their back and choke them, because everyone's got to tap to choke,
Well, that's it, So I'm sort of a heel hook and armbar kind of guy. That's kind of my strong points. So they're the positions that I just find them everywhere. Yeah. So Ali will tell you, when I get an arm and I've, you have a fight, and then once I've kind of pulled it past the point where you can't really do anything with it, I just go and go, cool, let go. I don't need it. These young guys will not accept that.
No.
So then you have to let go, and then you say to them, "Listen, man, I've let you go.
Just let you go, bitch. Like,
I've let you go." But then, because they're young and hormones all over the place, they think you're being an asshole because you're young, you're older than them, and So yeah, it's a strange thing to deal with, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to have a conversation with them.
And at some point you just got to just realize that, dude, these kids, you just can't even teach them. At some point, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out eventually. And you also got to let them just be young idiots for a while.
It's more helix. It's more helix. So, if I've got a helix on, again, Ali would attest to this, and everybody. So I'll get the position and generally just kind of play catch and release. I don't have to pull it on. So once I've got the position, generally, the next stage is throwing it over my shoulder and the leg off. So obviously, I'm not going to do that. So you generally catch them. So go, I'm not getting out. Tap, cool. Yeah. But the young guys don't. They don't want. You've got it and you're pulling, and they don't want to tap. And then you're going, if I keep pulling, you're going to stop doing jiu-jitsu for a very long time, because this ends with your leg just exploding. Obviously, I don't want to do that. Just trying to find this balance.
You just got to get it nice and tight, and then just stare them right in the eyes. That's what you do. You make that eye contact, like, "Hey, motherfucker, right now."
Yeah, that's what it is. Or they turn into gators and they decide to roll 14 times as their knee
wrong way.
explodes.
The wrong way.
Because they've seen it on a YouTube video. Just roll. You're like, dude, your knee's exploded into a firework of cartilage and ACL
I think what I'm going to do the next time is I catch somebody like that. I think I'm going to look them in the eyes and then just go, Nathan Orr just says hi.
Oh, man. Yeah, so it's tough. So do you guys compete then? Have you competed recently or anything like that? Are there competitions?
No, so...
They just came back, just in the last...
They've started back up the last year, so...
Yeah.
I competed at Naga Europe. When would that have been? 2019. So 2019. So I got a silver in heavyweight intermediate at Naga Europe. He looked everybody and then got fucked up in the final by a German wrestler. And then, there hasn't been anything since then. Well, there was the last 6 months, but
is Scotland starting to open up overall? What's it looking like over there, man?
Yeah, we're pretty much at the point now where we've opened most of the things back up. All our social distancing are back, disappeared again. We're back training above the radar rather than below the radar, which obviously we haven't been doing at any point for the benefit of the FBI listening. But there were definitely times where we were. But now we can actually do it. We can post pictures. But other than that, everything's, I say, back to normal, back to this weird normal that we're in now, where everyone's accepted it's normal, where we're wearing masks and walking about.
Everyone's just pretending as if the masks do something. And, we're all just, no one wants to be called a science denier. No one wants to be called, whatever else. So everyone's just like playing by these stupid rules that, like, I look in the grocery store, because here in Seattle, people are really into it as far as wearing masks and stuff. But there's no social distancing. But we're still wearing masks, and it's like, look, either follow all the rules or don't follow any rules. But this in between thing, like, is what drives me crazy, man. So I don't know. That's why I want to get back.
Wearing them and in the stores and stuff. I've been wearing, like, do you know how you get buffs that kind of go, kind of like for running, you can kind of put them up and then things. And I've been wearing them as a mask, just pulling them up.
Here
and then going to the store.
Yep.
They do literally fuck all. They will not stop anything. But that's fine. And it's like, why are we playing this game? Like,
that's
dumb. This is so dumb.
It just doesn't make sense to me. That's
But it doesn't. My favourite one, the favourite one that came out in Scotland, Nathan, was we had a spell last October where we started locking down pretty seriously again. And as you know, Scots are pretty well renowned for being big alcohol drinkers. And they kind of banned us from drinking in bars, and then they allowed us to drink in bars again as long as there was 1 meter between and all this kind of stuff. But it brought out my favourite term of this whole crazy last 20 months or so. So they put the rule in place that when you walked into the bar, you had to have a mask on. If you were sat down at a table, you could take your mask off. You would have to put your mask back on if you're going up to the bar to order. You could then take your mask down to order so that people could hear you. But this is the best bit. I've not even got to the best bit yet. You weren't allowed to perform what was known as vertical drinking. That's the face I pulled as well, Nathan. So what that basically meant was you could not drink while standing at the bar. You had to put your mask back up, take your pint or chosen drink back to the table, to then sit down at the table to take the mask off. If you stood at the bar to drink and a policeman came in, he could arrest you and fine you because you were not allowed to vertically drink.
And
horizontal drinking, I'm assuming, was okay.
Yeah,
diagonal drinking, I'm assuming, but vertical drinking.
Dude,
yeah.
And then the problem is, like, look, there's good cops, there's bad cops, but look, any cop that would enforce that is a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, I'm just doing my job. A lot of people did a lot of bad shit just because they were doing their job, So man, like we just gotta fucking think for ourselves.
And you know what? I use this example, to people quite early on, and you go, not everybody in Nazi Germany was actually a Nazi. They just went along with it, and they ended up being fucking Nazis. But they didn't necessarily agree with it. Just went.
They didn't say anything contrary, right? They just kind of let it happen too,
So so basically we locked down March. I think by the end of May, I had looked through a lot of numbers and just, was looking at what was happening. And by May 2020, we basically had been locked down for 3 months. I'd messaged John back and just said, do you want to just roll? Should we just roll secretly? Yeah, cool, let's do it. And then we just started training. It was completely illegal. And because I had looked at numbers and went, oh, this seems like bullshit. The one that got me the one that got me and made me laugh at the time was, looking through deaths by categories and ages, and by that point there was more people had been killed in my age bracket from things falling from roofs than had died from COVID. And I just went, oh, yeah, okay, let's just roll. Fuck this.
No,
and we trained the whole time. Didn't stop.
Same.
And nobody died. Imagine that.
Isn't that something?
Nobody died.
And that's the thing, dude. Like, basically, worldwide, jiu-jitsu guys were still doing jiu-jitsu. Everyone was secretly training. And, I mean, I don't know. Like, I know people have died, but, like, dude, I've almost died multiple times from different sicknesses in my life or whatever. And I didn't expect the world to shut down for it, and like, what there's like a Hickson Gracie quote that's something like, fear doesn't stop death, it stops life. It's like, dude, we're all gonna die. Yeah. We're all gonna die. Would you rather live 100 years in a prison cell or 25 dope years? I'd go for 25 every time. Like, I just, and totally. The thing is, the more you're avoiding death, the less you live, man. And so fuck that. I can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've signed up for so I like doing triathlons and stuff, like crazy extreme triathlons and stuff. And I've signed up for marathons in Scotland to run over mountains, and you cross ridges and stuff, tiny little narrow ridges. And in the sign up, when you sign it, there's a disclaimer that says this race may result in serious injury or death. Yeah. And you have to sign it. And it's like, cool, okay, that's fine. We regularly jump in locks, and I've swam in horrible loch water and swallowed it, and it's all full of dead dogs and shit. Didn't kill me. This isn't going to kill me. Let's crack on. Fuck it.
But hey, ultimately, life is going to kill us. So fuck it.
Yeah, like this is something this is something that I say to people regularly, and it's like, and I've shared it so many times on Instagram, and it was a Henry Rollins quote from being on Rogan. And it was just like, he was saying, he wakes up every morning with the Grim Reaper's scythe. You can hear the Grim Reaper's scythe swinging by his ear. And he's just like, all we're getting is older. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to be, like he was 59 at the time. You're going to go, damn, that was fast. Because it's, I'm sure you can remember it at school when people would tell you, time goes past so fast. So before you know it, you've been... And then before you know it, you're 33 going, what the fuck? I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 years. how the fuck? And then, in 15 years' time, you're going to be 58. Like, fuck.
And then you try to tell these young guys the same thing, and they don't hear it. And then that's the thing, man. We just gotta let it play out to learn these lessons. That like time really does go.
And everybody,
really don't waste it.
Yeah.
People, but everybody. This is what's beautiful about life: is everybody finds their own path.
Yeah.
I've always been late at developing into everything. I wasn't a particularly good athlete when I was younger, and as I've gotten older, I've gotten way better. Yeah. My ability to learn has gotten faster as I've gotten older.
That's it.
Because when I was younger, I didn't really care, and now I'm dialed in. I could focus on things. So everybody, and then you get kids who are, I'm sure you've got young kids in your gym who are phenomenal at 15. I wasn't one of those. And everybody, but those guys might be burnt out by the time they're 30.
Yeah,
that's life. That's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah. So it's like when you get people that say things like where we're talking about our respective ages. Now I've got a friend that was debating about going back to university to get a degree so they could eventually become a nurse. And they were like, but you know what? See, in 5 years, by the time I finish that, I'll be 40. And I was like, guess what? In 5 years' time, you're going to be 40, regardless of whether you go and get the degree and become a nurse. So whether you go and get the degree and become a nurse, in 5 years' time, everything else, touch wood, you'll be 40 years old. So why not be 40 years old with a degree and a career that you presumably love because you spent 5 years working towards it? And guess what? Even if it turns out it sucks, you found out that it definitely sucks and you don't want to do that. Rather be being sat at 40 going, shit, I wish at 35 I'd gone for that. And again, people don't always appreciate that time span. Like if someone said to you, 15 years ago, it's going to take you 15 years to get to there. You'd be like, shit, I don't want to spend 15 years. But you do it bit by bit. Me and Chris are like 4 years, 6 years. If they'd said, it's going to take you 4 years to get semi-decent at jiu-jitsu, you go, nah, I'm not committing 4 years of my life to get semi-decent. But you start doing it day by day by day, and suddenly you've accumulated it.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. It's true. Yeah. What do they say? The best time to start jiu-jitsu was 10 years ago. The next best time is today.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's true. I like to also think of it like, what would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail? Like if we went at things with that perspective, it'd be totally different. It's the fear of failure that actually is the failure itself, you know?
Yeah.
So we just got to do it, man, because time's a wasting.
I have, I've got no fear of failing. I know there's some guys, and funnily enough, I was actually talking to people about this in the sauna after I'd went swimming last week, actually. And we're talking about a few guys that we each knew, and a couple of guys who were super talented at different disciplines. One guy was really good at Muay Thai, a guy who's been good at jiu-jitsu, boxing and things. And it's like because they were good early, the expectation is like they self-sabotaged by not doing what they should have done. And then, kind of wasting the talent that they had. And it's so frustrating as you get older to watch that. Fuck, man, you could have done something big. It's like, I'm trying to think, like a Gordon Ryan kind of type when he was younger, obviously quite good. But the fear of failure could have killed him, but it didn't. That in itself is to be applauded, because somebody could be good. Because you'll know yourself, I'm competing at the top level. There's so much pressure on you, and sometimes you get scared of, what if I fail?
Yeah,
you fucking fail, you fail, but at least you tried. But the pressure sometimes gets to people.
I've seen it happen. Really, really talented guys who are undefeated, and then they get so afraid to lose that undefeated streak that they quit. And that's the ultimate defeat right there,
Yeah,
absolutely, because you've then quit. It's like even, some people, and again, I don't know if it's an element of because, well, me especially, I'm getting a lot older. I'm 44 in a few months' time. But I don't mind if people think I'm an asshole and I look an idiot.
You're definitely an asshole.
Because I know I am one. That's what I was going to say. I know I am. Like when we started this podcast, loads of people said, who's going to listen to you? You're an idiot. I was like, I'm going to let you into a secret. I already know that. Yeah. I'm okay with that idea. Or what happens if people think you're an asshole? That's okay. I'm okay with that idea because enough people think I'm not, that we can have cool conversations like with people like yourself.
Look, dude, here's the thing, man. If you are afraid to come off as an asshole, that means you are one. Like, look, a true humble person doesn't care if someone thinks they're an asshole because they know they're not. But an arrogant person wants to come off as humble, which is actually false humility, which is arrogance. So anytime I feel myself being like, oh, I don't want people to think that I think I'm the shit, I'm like, no, fuck that. I do think I'm the shit, and I fucking should think I'm the shit. And like, you know, I would actually be a bigger piece of garbage if I was trying to act like something I'm not. So, dude, just like rock the arrogance, be arrogant, be an asshole, because at least then you're fucking honest. You know what I mean? Like I value honesty more than anything, you know? So if you're a fake honest person, well, that means you're a liar, you know? But if you're a true asshole, hey, at least I can trust you, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I think age brings that I don't give a fuck attitude a little bit. Especially when you've done quite a lot, you know, in your life. You know, I've done quite a bit, and I think you get to the point where you, like you're saying, you go, I think I'm just getting to the stage now with jiu-jitsu where I'm comfortable enough to say I'm quite good.
Sure.
Do you know, I'm getting to that stage now where you know, especially no-gi, I would give most people, certainly purple and brown belts, a hard time. They might beat me, but you know, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to make it difficult. So I'm getting to that stage now where I could say I'm quite good. And
at some point, you don't need to prove yourself to anybody anymore. Right?
I don't, you know, I don't need anybody to say, you know, this or fuck you, man. I don't fucking need you. I don't need your approval. You know, like I was saying with doing the podcast, you know, people say, yeah, but what if you do it and you know people laugh at you? Fuck them. I don't give a fuck.
Who cares?
Tell me come down and you know we can have a conversation about it and I'll fuck them up. It's cool. Like
I mean, look, just because someone says something, that doesn't mean it's true. You know, like someone says, Orchard, you suck at jiu-jitsu. Does that mean I actually suck? No, it doesn't. Yeah. So all these bullshit opinions, you know, they don't.
Yeah, they're just words.
But that opinion,
you know, they really are just words. And the thing is for you know, just for example, because we're talking. So you know, if I said to you, you know, I think you suck at jiu-jitsu, that would have to mean that you would have to respect my opinion for that to have any impact on you. So when somebody says to me, you know, I think you're a dick, cool, man, but I think you're a dick. So
it's no, I always quote the movie The Big Lebowski, you know, where he goes, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yes.
And as you know, as we say in Scotland, opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one.
And they all stink.
They all stink. And on that, I think that's the best place to leave that. We should just wrap it up there.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had you for an hour, man.
Yeah, we've had you for a while, Nathan. So we don't want to keep.
Well, I enjoyed it, you guys. Thank you for having me on, and hey, we can do it again sometime. And maybe I'll get out to Scotland and get to roll with you guys and go kick it. You know,
cool. If you ever want to, if you're coming to compete here, man, I've got a spare room. Just set up and you can crash here anytime you want, man.
Absolutely. Just before we wind totally up, if we send some people your way, where can they find you on social media, the interwebs, etc.? Anything you want to shout out, sir?
Yeah, no, basically my social media presence is basically just on Instagram, Nate Orch 10P. And yeah, check me out. And then I'm out here, 10th Planet, Seattle. And
actually, what size of rash guard do you wear?
Well, I suppose it depends on the company. Usually, like phalanx, I wear a medium. Certain things I wear a large, but I would say large would probably be pretty safe. You know?
So I've got some. I did some. You know, I've designed a few rash guards, and I have a Scottish one which is real cool. And if I don't know if do you know Fletch Curwin?
Oh,
West
God.
LA. He's a brown belt at 10th Planet West LA. He's got a couple of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know Fletch.
So yeah, he's got one. So what I'll do is I only have small and mediums left. We'll get an address off you. I'll send you a medium out, and if it fits, awesome.
Medium, dude, I'll rock it, bro. I would
super cool. It's basically it's William Wallace, as in the Mel Gibson version of William Wallace, rear naked choking the Loch Ness monster. It's got some tartan on it and shit. It's pretty fucking cool. So we'll get an address and I'll send you one of those out, man.
I would love that.
Hopefully it fits. So yeah, man. Thank you very much for your time, and Anytime Scotland hit us up, and we'll get you one of those Rash Guards out.
Let's
Definitely.
do it. Peace,
Yes,
brothers.
Roger.
Appreciate you
Thanks
guys.
for your time.
Yep.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.
The Silly Goose Gang Podcast.